Is this the condition of the right rear taillight when you showed up at the recent Reed household at around 3:15 in the afternoon on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not. That middle section was intact when I was there. Towards that right side where that large chunk is, that's what was missing.
So was the cracked tail light timeline shadowed at all by the defense's police witness? Our experts will weigh in. Plus, a day full of the dog bite defense. Dr. Marie Russell facing a grueling cross-examination. Well, we've got our own dog bite expert weighing in live this morning. Plus, we're spotlighting Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial and whether alleged victim Mia's testimony is enough to help convict the music mogul. And Shabusiness is back, and she's heading to trial. The question is, should she be restrained? We're talking about it with one of America's favorite judges. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some corn? We got a tremendous show planned with such great guests. Let's get it started. Grab that coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Hannibal Lecter or Taylor Shabusiness? Who was that in court on Tuesday? My goodness, I don't know which one of them is scarier. And soon we're going to see a lot more of her, my friends, as she is going to trial in October for her pending assault case. This woman is accused of assaulting a prison guard. It happened last July, allegedly. Police say that Shabusiness hit the female guard over the head with a tray and then swung a metal table at her. Police say the guard was intervening to help a nurse who was caring for Shabusiness when Shabusiness suddenly lunged at the nurse. Sound familiar? Ms. Shabusiness has attacked 2 of her lawyers on different occasions in the courtroom, and we know she's a convicted killer. We saw her trial play out where we learned that she murdered and then dismembered her boyfriend, Shad Therion. We've seen her be forced to wear a spit mask, and on Tuesday we saw her wheeled into that courtroom in a restraint chair. So, how in the world is this woman's assault trial gonna go? She can't be unrestrained. She is a monster, like Hannibal Lecter, except he was a character. She's a real threat. Buckle your seatbelts, my friends, because Shabusiness is back. That is my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. We're not done talking about her. It's coming up later this morning and what's tipping the scales. But right now, it's time for your daily docket.
How many knives were found?
A total of 51 just from the kitchen.
Just from the kitchen? Were there knives elsewhere?
There were. We took it out just to show the size of the blade and show the knife.
All right, so in Wisconsin, we've got the state's case continuing this morning in the deadly first state murder trial for defendant Maxwell Anderson. This guy's accused of murdering and dismembering 19-year-old Sade Robinson. In New York, we've got testimony resuming at 9 a.m. in Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking trial. We're going to be talking a lot about that this morning. And in Arizona, we've got Cult Mom's attempted homicide case resuming at 1:30 p.m. Eastern with jury selection. She was reportedly sick the last couple of days. That's what she told the judge. We'll see what happens this afternoon. Right now, though, we turn to our top story for you. Defendant Karen Reed's defense case continues this morning. The taillight timeline and the dog bite defense that they're putting on were the big focus on Tuesday. The defense calling police officer Nicholas Barros, who assisted state police in seizing Karen Reed's SUV the day that John O'Keefe was found dead in the snow. Reed's car was at her parents' house when police went to grab it up. They had a warrant for that car. Now, Barros testified that when he arrived to get the vehicle, the taillight was cracked and missing what he estimated to be, you see his hands there, a dollar-sized length fragment piece.
Is this the condition of the right rear taillight when you showed up at the recent Reed household at around 3:15 in the afternoon on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
What's different about this photo, sir?
That taillight is completely smashed out. This area was intact. This is what I saw was missing here.
All right, so before Bear Rose took the stand, we got to back the truck up, my friends, and talk about this lady, the defense's dog bite expert. First time ever testifying as an expert in this case, the case against defendant Karen Reed. Special prosecutor Hank Brennan was very good at cross-examining her. Let's take a listen to some of that.
Is there anything about your methodology, something that stands out about these wounds, that you can say to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that these are consistent with a dog either biting or scratching?
These wounds all by themselves, not to a medical degree of certainty, no.
Okay, so did a dog bite Officer John O'Keefe? Well, we've got our own dog bite expert on the show. You know him and love him. Lieutenant Mike Gould is back with us this morning, and we're so honored to have former United States Attorney William Ehlenfeld. He's a heavy hitter in the private sector, now doing criminal defense work. He's also been a state-level prosecutor as well. William and Lieutenant, good morning to you both. All right, Lieutenant, I want to start with you, and for anybody who hasn't seen you on with us before, you are qualified in both state and federal court as a dog bite expert. You are the owner and founder of Houndstown USA. You've been a commander of the K-9 unit. That's when you retired at the Nassau County Police Department in New York. So you've got tons and tons and tons of experience. What do you think of Dr. Marie Russell's conclusion that this was a dog bite?
Yeah, so Julie, very frankly, I don't think she was qualified to be there in the first place, honestly. You know, when I testify in court, I have to go through a Daubert hearing, and they, you know, the attorneys want to really beat me up and make me look like an imbecile, which usually isn't that difficult. But Dr. Russell has very little experience in observing dog bites. Working in an ER or being a pathologist, these are superficial scratches. So normally an ER physician wouldn't even see these types of injuries. She vacillated back and forth. She said it was a scratch. It could be a scratch. It could be a dog bite. It's not. It's not a dog bite in my estimation or in my theory to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And you know, and you've always said that, Lieutenant, not a dog bite. And here we have this woman who came in as an expert for the first time in her life with this case. William, I want to turn to you with the storytelling aspect of this, please. You're really a master storyteller and so seasoned with trial advocacy work. We know that the Commonwealth in this trial did something very different than in trial one. They called in a brilliant accident reconstructionist who did a demo. For anybody who missed it, we've got a clip. I want to play it now, and William, we'll talk on the other side about what the jury may be thinking after seeing this and then hearing about a dog.
I did this at very low speeds, and you'll see, and we'll throw this from two different angles. That's me showing I'm doing test 2. This is from a camera that we have pointing down at it. This is the speed. You'll see it's only about a 2-mile-an-hour impact, but even a 2-mile-an-hour impact redirects me back and causes me to rotate and take a step.
All right, so this is what the jury saw first. Then in comes the dog bite experts. William, what do you think the jury is thinking when suddenly they're hearing about a dog?
I think the jury is thinking this isn't possible. This isn't a plausible theory. And I think the defense might regret having gone down this path, but they're kind of stuck with it now. And it's just not, based upon what you just showed, Julie, and everything else that we've heard in this trial, it's just not plausible to believe that those injuries on Officer O'Keefe were caused by a dog. And I think the state's gonna, or the Commonwealth's gonna bring an expert in rebuttal that's really gonna hammer that point home. But it's just not a believable theory.
Right, and I'm so glad you brought that up, William, about rebuttal. Mike Gould, for anybody wondering, are you being called? Just want to clear that up for anybody who
No,
might
I'm
think
not.
that-
I'm not involved. I haven't been retained in this case, thankfully. But no, I'm not.
Right. Well, and thank you for that. And with Dr. Marie Russell, such a nice lady she seems like. I bet she was a lovely doctor. She seems like she's got a sweet bedside manner. But in terms of qualifications, Lieutenant, as you were watching her yesterday and the way she testified, what makes you think that she was really out of her realm of expertise on this one?
Right. Certainly out of her lane. First of all, she started opining on psychological factors of the defendant. She started opining on reconstruction. She just doesn't have the experience to do this. She may have been well-intentioned, thought she was going to give an opinion, but her opinion is not founded in fact. She literally doesn't understand these wounds. She had a very difficult time articulating things. She went back and forth. This is possible. My opinion is very straightforward. Those scratches on the arm of Mr. O'Keefe were not caused by a dog. It was, in my opinion, a scavenger animal. If you believe my theory, just those exterior, those scratches on the left and right side, if you believe that that's not from a dog, which it's not, it's from a scavenger, a possum, I believe, then that's it. The other parts are irrelevant. The nibbles in the middle, they are bites. They're certainly animal. It's certainly an animal bite, in my opinion. But it's not from a dog attack. To think that you would have to lay down, we have a reflex, a pain reflex. So your arm wouldn't lay there while a dog is biting at you under any circumstance, any animal for that matter. So it has to be post-mortem, in my opinion.
Got you. And and for anybody who is just joining and hasn't ever seen, we've talked so much, Lieutenant. I feel like I could recite your opinion myself. So to be very clear, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm wrong here. You have always believed that she hit him, this was an accident with the car, and that the possum came later when he was laying there bleeding. Am I correct?
Right. I think there was contact made. I think that there was some contact made. Was it intentional murder? No, I don't. And I think this happened. However, Mr. O'Keefe ended up on the front lawn where I laid at nighttime. I understand the crime scene very well. And it's a plausible explanation. This is when possums feed 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. They come out from the trees where they're hiding and they start looking for food, especially in the winter. They're heading towards garbage cans. They came across Mr. O'Keefe. They investigate by using their claws to see if there's movement. If there's no movement, they start feeding on him. So my opinion has never wavered. It's the same deja vu all over again.
Got you. And I appreciate it, Lieutenant. So here we have a situation where there's been no evidence, as you both know, that John O'Keefe ever encountered a dog. We know there's no dog DNA on his clothing. There's no testimony from a soul who says a dog was anywhere near him. There's no testimony from anybody that says he ever went in the house. This is a story the defense team has been telling outside of the courthouse, but hasn't been able to establish it in the courtroom. William, asking you please to look at this from a defense perspective. Is there a better way you could think of for them to refute what the Commonwealth did by not using a dog bite expert? Essentially, how might be a better way to go about this defense in your view?
So I really think that they should have stayed away from this. As you said, Julie, they're talking a lot about it outside of the courthouse. It's very difficult inside the courtroom to try to support this theory. I think a better way would have been to focus on what Karen Reed was doing that night. The fact that try to distance themselves from all these statements she's made, which makes it very difficult, and try to show that this was something that she had no involvement with. It's just a difficult case. They've picked a theory that I think is going to be hard to support in the end, and I think they're in serious trouble. The only good thing that's happened so far has been the testimony from the officer yesterday, and even that is not going to be enough.
Yeah, I would love to ask you about that, please, William. Thank you. So they brought on this officer, so polite, seems like such a nice officer. He had such a nice way about him on the stand. And what do you think, William? Did that move the ball for the defense? They're trying to claim that evidence was tampered with. We don't have any evidence of that. Does what he said and remembering it being a smaller missing piece move the ball forward for their theory?
It did for a moment, but then when Hank Brennan got up on cross, he moved the ball back towards the Commonwealth. He did a masterful job of attacking his credibility, the fact that he has given inconsistent statements, and the fact that he might be seeking attention by testifying in this case in the manner that he did. So in the end, I don't think it's going to make a difference for the Reed defense.
I appreciate that, William. Yeah, I thought Hank Brennan was incredible looking back at those video clips and pausing it. And I mean, thank goodness we have that. I keep thinking about where would we be if we didn't have the tape time-stamped and all that, and then you would have to rely totally on this officer's memory. Great conversation with you both. We're not done talking about this case. It continues this morning here on Court TV. William Ehlenfeld's coming with us. Lieutenant Mike Gould, we got to say goodbye and thank you to you for weighing in on the dog bite debate. We'll see you soon. Coming up next here on Opening Statements, here's what we have got.
What did Mr. Combs tell you on this call?
Mr. Combs sounded very nervous, just was talking really fast, but was just saying that he had a little too much to drink and that, you know, I knew how things was, you know, with women. One thing led to another. And if this got out, it could ruin him.
What, if anything, did he ask for you to do?
He asked if I could provide the video.
The video front and center in Diddy's trial. We're talking about the testimony of the security guard and how it may help the government. Plus, we've seen her violent behavior many times before. Taylor Shabusiness heading now to trial. Question is, how should they do it? Does she need to be restrained? One of America's favorite judges is joining us live.
Karen Reed is in the midst of the retrial of the century.
She is factually innocent. She's guilty.
There's something wrong in this county.
Come at me.
John O'Keefe was killed by that defendant, Karen Reed.
She's the victim of a corrupted investigation that was never about the truth.
Another big day here at the Dedham Courthouse.
Fight on. Nothing's breaking me, Matt.
You'll see it all unfold right here on Court TV.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that.
How did you feel during the freak-offs when Sean beat you?
Worthless, just like dirt, like I didn't matter to him. But that I was nothing, like absolutely nothing.
But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Cuddy, are you nervous to testify today?
What are you expecting today?
Big week this week. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial continues dominating the headlines in the true crime community, and the infamous video of the music mogul beating Cassie Ventura was back in the focus of the courtroom. The March 2016 assault of Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles was shown to the jurors early on in this case. And then on Tuesday, we heard testimony from a former security officer at that hotel, and he really pulled back the curtains on Diddy's alleged attempts to conceal the video footage from the public. Former officer Eddie Garcia testified that one of Combs' assistants called him up asking for a copy to see that beating video. Garcia said he told her off the record, it's bad. Well, Combs then got on the phone and said if this got out, it could ruin him. And Garcia went on to say that his boss then agreed to get the video to Combs for $50,000, but Combs gave him $100,000 in cash for the video. Garcia said he gave his boss $50,000, $20,000 to another guard on duty at the time, and then he kept $30,000 for himself. So the question we're asking this morning, does the security officer's testimony help support the sex trafficking charge against Diddy as it pertains to Cassie? Let's bring back in former United States Attorney William Ehlenfeld, and want to welcome in now the Executive Director of the National Center for Victims of Crime. She's also an attorney, our friend Renee Williams. Renee, I want to start with you. Thank you for coming on this morning. You and William, gosh, need to know each other. You both have done so many wonderful things for victims throughout the course of your respective careers. We'll connect you two after the program. So tell me, as you're watching this, you know, through the lens of victims' rights and helping victims and thinking about what Cassie endured, what do you think when you heard the guard's testimony as it gives context to that situation?
Well, I think the guard's testimony shows just how powerful Diddy was. And I think the prosecutors are doing a beautiful job of really threading the needle on the racketeering charges here. But I think the more important part of the video that not a lot of people are talking about is what Cassie had to have endured for years. You know, we have the video of Diddy apologizing, saying that was a bad day. I was ashamed of that time in my life. But what we see in that video is not a man that's done that for the first time. That's simply not what we know about domestic violence abusers and victims. That had been leading up to something. That wasn't the first time Diddy did it, and it probably was not the last time. And I think the important thing to look at in the context of human trafficking here is we now have this video, and what we really have is Cassie's testimony saying, I did these freak-offs because it was my job. I was scared. We know that Diddy had a lot of power over her, and I think that's where we're threading the needle to get to human trafficking. Does the video itself prove it? No, not trafficking. Does the guard's testimony prove trafficking? No, I think it proves racketeering. But when you start to compile these things, you get a really good sense of what was happening and what prosecutors are going after here.
Excellent analysis. Renee, thank you for that. William, having served as a United States attorney, having that unique experience, tell us, please, what does the government need to do to connect the dots for the layperson on the jury who might say, oh, yeah, this is domestic violence. This looks really bad to me, but you're asking me about sex trafficking. How can I understand that when I look at this?
Right. So yeah, it's difficult, and you have to do you have to explain it as simply as you can to 12 people on the jury who aren't lawyers, who aren't prosecutors. But let me just say that Eddie Garcia's testimony was very important to the government's case. And I think maybe the most important or powerful part of his testimony was when he talked about the money counter being brought out and $100,000 being counted in front of him as payment for that video. I mean, that just helps to paint the picture of what kind of enterprise this was. The Combs enterprise was a criminal enterprise, and that helps, among other things, to paint a picture of that. His assistants were involved in it. The one assistant who goes by KK was involved in contacting the hotel security guard to try to figure out what happened with that tape and how bad it was, and then you had other security personnel involved in it. It just paints the picture of this racketeering enterprise. And Julie, you and I have talked about the predicate acts that the government has to prove in its case. And with Eddie Garcia's testimony, they proved bribery, which is one of the predicate acts, and they also proved witness tampering. They've already proven kidnapping, in my opinion. Arson, they're pretty darn close. There's probably going to be enough there. So they checked the box on 2 additional predicate acts yesterday, and they're well on their way to securing a racketeering conviction.
William, thank you for that. But your insight is so incredibly helpful. And you've told us before, but a little refresher now, they only need 2 predicate crimes to be proven, right? If they get more, it's like a bonus. Is that right?
Exactly. 2 within a 10-year period, and they have done that. So if they don't prove that arson, that's okay. But they proved 2 of them yesterday, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for that. Excellent insight, William. Thank you. I want to turn your attention to this other aspect of this. So today we're looking forward to possibly another huge day with one of Diddy's accusers going by the pseudonym Jane, expected to take the stand. Now, she's one of 3 alleged victims in this case. Prosecutors mentioned her as being one of them during their opening statements. They say that she was a sex trafficking victim like Cassie. They say that she also was romantically involved with Diddy after his relationship with Cassie ended. So the question we have for our power panel on this: how can Jane help or hurt the government's case against Diddy. Renee, I want to go back to you. This alleged victim, what do you think she may do here, please?
I think, as we saw with Mia's testimony, she could harm, but I think she has a lot more potential to do good. And I think the important thing for each of these women that they're bringing onto the stand to emphasize is how powerful Diddy was and how afraid they were of him. I've heard so much criticism in social media, in folks trying to put this together, of all of these lawsuits that are coming out against Diddy, and why are these women just here for a money grab? And I think this trial and these victims have a real chance to put in the public eye just how dangerous these men can be. You know, Diddy is showing how powerful he is even behind bars. And so that is a reason women don't report to the police and they don't go to police. We know what the statistics are on prosecuting sexual assaults. And so hopefully Jane will be able to really quiet down the criticism as well of these women that are now coming forward and saying, I want to bring something against Diddy, but I was afraid to.
I appreciate that so much, Renee. You know, I'm sure it doesn't surprise you at all seeing, you know, somebody who's saying, yeah, I was in a relationship, but also these really bad things happened. I think that's stunning many people in the public. Renee, why is that not stunning?
Because we know that most cases of domestic violence and sexual assault go unreported. We've made so much progress with Me Too, but it's frankly not enough. And so we just did a roundtable at NCVC on the experience victims have when they report to the police. And I can't tell you some of the horror stories we've heard. So it's still very challenging for women and men to come forward when they've been victims of sexual assault. And we also see that oftentimes the product of their reporting isn't good. Again, I'll go back to the statistics of cases of domestic violence and of sexual assault that actually end up getting prosecuted. It's embarrassingly low.
Wow, this is such helpful insight to give us context as we get ready for this today. Renee, thank you. William, let me go back to you, please. I want to ask one last question here before we conclude our discussion for now on this. When we think about what prosecutors have to do with victims, would you speak to how rare it is to have a perfect victim in a perfectly clean situation to put before the jury?
Very rare. These are complicated relationships, as we've been discussing this morning, and it takes so much courage to get on the stand and face your accuser, and there are going to be some points that the defense can score on cross, and that's to be expected. But the great thing about the government's case here is that we have multiple victims, and not only are they telling their story, they're really supporting one another by going into the courtroom and being courageous enough to face someone who caused them so much harm. So it's rare to have a perfect victim. And the other thing that the U.S. Attorney's Office has, they have victim witness support personnel who are helping them through this process. But it's so hard, it's so difficult. They're not going to be perfect. They're just going to go in there and tell the truth. And I think as this adds up, it's not going to be good news for Sean Combs, because they have showed the bravery to go in there and testify.
I think you're exactly right. William, thank you for that. And thank you for the mention about the advocates, you know, exactly what the National Center for Victims of Crime does. All of the people that Renee leads in the organization, victimsofcrime.org, if you want to hear more about it or get involved. Help is always welcome. We're so fortunate to have you both lending us your insight and expertise this morning. Renee, William Ehlenfeld, thank you both so much for the great conversation. We'll see you both soon. And still to come here on opening statements, we're going to hear more about
the dynamic
the Diddy
would shift quite often, where when he would refer to me or treat me like his best friend or his family, then we would have, it would be great. I would be safe. It would be so much fun. And then it could dramatically shift based on his moods to the abusive, scary versions.
We're talking about Diddy's assistant next. She's going by the pseudonym Mia, and she was grilled on the cross. We'll talk about it. And Shabusiness is back. Will she be restrained at her trial? What do you think should happen? Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning, we're putting our spotlight on the Sean Combs sex trafficking case and whether the prosecution is doing enough to secure a conviction. Take, for example, the testimony of the woman known as Mia. She was Diddy's personal assistant for 8 years. She described how Combs mistreated her. She said that he raped her. Here's some of her testimony through court transcripts and AI voice technology.
How did you react when that happened?
I just froze. I didn't react.
How did you feel?
Terrified and confused and ashamed and scared.
Did you want to have sex with Mr. Combs?
No.
How long was this assault?
It was very quick, but felt like forever.
The defense, though, pressed her on why she kept on working for Diddy.
You wanted to work and continue to work for Mr. Combs and his industry businesses, right?
I wanted to continue. I wanted to continue following my dreams. I was finally making real stuff, and I had a separation from them.
And that means that you wanted to continue the work at that location with Mr. Combs and his businesses. That's my question. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so does Mia's testimony help advance the government's case? Let's bring in someone who's been in the courtroom watching some of this trial in person. She's there in New York where it's taking place. Court TV's Senior Director of Courtroom Coverage, Grace Wong. Grace, good morning. I can't wait to talk to you about this. So give us your take, if you would please, on Mia's testimony.
Good morning, Julie, and thanks for having me. You know, I was in the overflow room for Mia's testimony, but we could see and hear her testify. And the judge had gone through great lengths to protect her privacy. In fact, the prosecutors had initially asked that the feed to that room be cut off so that you couldn't see her. But the judge decided in the end that that overflow room was an extension of the courtroom. So we were able to see and hear her testimony pretty well. And she was very compelling on direct. She gave a very emotional description of being sexually assaulted, waking up to Diddy on top of her and penetrating her. And she was really reluctant and again, very emotional. She was weeping during the testimony and described, she had trouble. She struggled to even say the word penis, and that he had used one hand to remove his pants while penetrating her. And like I said, she really struggled to give the details and was very emotional during that testimony. But she also said that this was something that happened more than once, or at least she said that she was sexually assaulted at least 3 times that she gave details about, and one time that it was that she couldn't remember the details, and that's how often it appeared to be. It certainly wasn't the first time that she described being sexually assaulted by Diddy. So her direct examination was very compelling, and clearly she seemed very traumatized by what happened to her.
Right. Grace, I've heard it being described as just harrowing testimony on direct that she gave. You could feel what she was feeling. It was that emotional as you described. The cross, different story, as I understand it. Brian Steele, who we know is an outstanding lawyer. I said he was my legal hero when he went to jail for Young Thug because of doing what was right and saying, I won't violate client confidences. And he didn't. He stood by his client. And now he's on the Diddy team. What was the cross like of her? Did it undo what the government did on direct?
You know, ultimately that's a question for the jurors, but he was very effective in basically bringing out her lack of fear of Diddy. He went through post after social media post on her account and having her read back what she posted, her statements, her statements about Diddy. And this is during her employment, after the sexual assaults. And one thing I think that he was very effective at was recalling the posts that she made on November 4th. Each November 4th, she would post a birthday message to Diddy, which is the first day or the first incident that she described on direct of being sexually assaulted by Diddy. On that day, when he was celebrating his 40th birthday, she said that he cornered her in the kitchen of the penthouse suite that he had rented for his party and kissed her without permission and put his hand up her dress. And then the next memory is that she's waking up in a chair with the sun rising, again suggesting that he drugged her and sexually assaulted her. And on the, I mean, she didn't refer to it as an anniversary, but the lawyer Steele did refer to it as an anniversary. And on each subsequent birthday after this, she would send him or post a message wishing him a happy birthday, telling him how much she loved him and how much she appreciated the work and how he inspired her, which is not what you would think someone would say to their abuser or someone that had raped them. So, and these are messages that come not just during her employment, but messages that follow years after she's left his employment. So, and I'm talking, as late as August 2023, she's reaching out to Diddy, telling him how much she loves him. And so if you're Diddy, I think it would be reasonable to think that, this woman loves him and the sex was consensual.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Grace, this is tricky. We were just touching on this in the segment before about how it's very rare, and you know this from all of your many years of such great journalism work in the courtroom. It's very rare that you get a perfect victim. It's messy. The lines are blurred. In terms of what Mia has legally done, and I would love to break that down with you if we can for a moment, seems to me in my reading of it that she corroborated the claims that Cassie was sex trafficked, that she would keep tabs on Cassie and very much as a witness to Cassie's trafficking, and that also she experienced the crime of forced labor, being made to stay up for 5 days in a row, having things thrown at her on the job, her arm slammed in a door, forced to perform oral sex when she's at his house, doing things for him that are part of her work agreement. What kind of a picture was painted with respect to that for you, please, Grace? The forced labor, did it seem like doing her job was a nightmare at times and that things were forced upon her?
That is certainly something that she described. Very challenging work conditions, harrowing to the point where she wasn't even able to go to the bathroom. And when she resisted following one of Diddy's orders one time because she had to go change her tampon, she had not been able to do it. And she had waited till there was actually blood trickling down her leg. And that when she went to the bathroom, instead of promptly following an order to go to IHOP to pick up food, he threw a bowl of spaghetti at her. So certainly the work conditions and the demands on her were really severe and put her in a very challenging position where she did fear losing her job if she didn't follow his orders.
Mm-hmm. This is so helpful. You're such a great storyteller, Grace, and when you're relating this, I mean, it's chilling to think about that. Nobody should be made to work under those conditions or have sexual acts forced upon them, and forced labor is, as you know, a federal crime, and if the government has proven it here with her, and it sounds like they have, it can count as one of those predicate crimes, we've talked a lot about in the big overarching racketeering conspiracy that's being alleged. Grace, this is excellent insight. Thank you so very much for all of that. We're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ms. Shabusiness, Taylor Shabusiness, that is, and her being restrained yesterday. Look at her. She looked like Hannibal Lecter coming into the courtroom like that with that chair. And what's going to happen now at her trial? That's next.
A VPI special report.
The P. Diddy sex abuse scandal that has rocked Hollywood and the world of hip-hop.
The downfall of a music mogul.
Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years.
An all-new look at the evidence and the latest from inside the courtroom.
That was the moment when everything changed.
Vinnie Politan investigates. A Diddy special report. Tonight, 9/8 Central on Court TV.
Could the behavior of infamous inmate Taylor Shabusiness tip the scale? She was convicted in the gruesome murder of her boyfriend, Shad Theria. Now she's going to go on trial again, accused of assaulting a jail guard. She was wheeled into court Tuesday, strapped in because of all of her previous outbursts. Well, now her attorney wants her unshackled at future court dates.
I would ask respectfully to the court, at future hearings, I'd ask that she not be shackled. I have a relationship with her. I've represented her before. I think we have a good relationship, and I'd ask that you consider my request for her not to be shackled during the trial or any future proceedings.
So should she be shackled? Let's bring in one of America's favorite judges, the Honorable Larry Seidlin. He presided over Anna Nicole Smith's body custody case. Judge, great to see you. What should be done with Ms. Shabusiness here?
Well, Hollywood's looking to recruit her as Mrs. Hannibal Lecter. I mean, shackled, I'd put her in a cage. I'd put her in with lions. Her last lover, she cut off his penis and his head. I mean, this woman is completely whacked out. What I question is, why do we even want to charge her with battery or aggravated battery? Because she's facing life imprisonment with no right to parole. I'd keep this nut in the jail and let them administratively penalize her. They can impose certain penalties upon her in the jail. Why bring her out for aggravated battery? It's crazy. I used to be the sheriff's legal advisor way back. I wouldn't charge her with anything. Leave the nut alone. Let her stay in the cage. That's it.
Judge, I love what you're saying. Brilliant. Preach, preach, preach. Yeah, you know, so it's really up to the state here. They could just drop this, like you said, and just leave it alone. But if they're intent on going forward, and as of yesterday they were, hopefully they'll listen to you and just leave her there and move forward. If they're intent on moving forward, what should the judge in this one do? Should he allow her to be unshackled at any point in these proceedings before the jury?
I watched the videos of her. She attacked 2 lawyers in the past. She needs heavy medication. If I was the judge, I would demand the presence of the state attorney, the top prosecutor in the community, and say, why are we charging her? Why are we putting everybody's life at risk? And also the jail people. I'd say, okay, administratively penalize her. I would have her shackled. I wouldn't even bring her into a courtroom. I'd keep her in a cage somewhere in the jail. She doesn't have a right to be in that courtroom because she's proven she's a danger to the community and to everyone around her.
You're so right, Judge. I agree with everything you said. We love you so much, and we love having you on the show. So let's just say that no one is willing to listen to reason here, and everybody's moving forward, and we're having a trial with Ms. Shabusiness. What kind of security would you put into place in the courtroom?
I would have as many officers as the sheriff's department can lend me during the trial. I mean, I've been threatened before. I used to, when I felt a little bit paranoid, I'd put a gun on my ankle and say, at least I got one last shot. Security should be tight. It's a waste of the taxpayers' money. But if he has to have a trial, you must make that place like Fort Knox secure.
You're so right. Judge Larry Silent, how I wish I could have practiced before you. You are tremendous. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on the show. Come back soon, please.
It's always good to be with you.
Thanks so much, Judge. When we come back, it is time for Court TV Live. That's all for opening statements, my friends. Thank you for watching with us this morning. Go refill that cup of coffee. When we come back, we're going live to Dedham, Massachusetts in the trial over the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe.